I'm nearing the end of my week off, and I have to say this is one of the better life decisions I've made. I kicked off my weekend with an afternoon visit to a winery with some really good friends of mine. One of our numbers moving soon to another state, so she's going to start a job as a nonprofit CEO, and it's just really nice to sometimes get to celebrate your friends' successes. Sunday, I drove to New Jersey for an overnight visit to another friend that I haven't seen in years. We had a wonderful time catching up, and she brought me to a hot yoga class the next morning, and that was exactly what I needed to start off the vacation Monday. I left feeling rejuvenated. I drove 4 hours back to Arlington, and the weather was absolutely perfect. I also this week started to check off some of the important items on my to-do list for moving. So I called storage facilities. I learned that their prices are they change week to week. So they advised me to just call back 2 weeks before I'm ready to move. And then they would be able to tell me exactly which location was the cheapest. And that works out perfectly because based on my research, I need a 10 by 10 space. I found CubeSmart looks like the cheapest storage facilities in my area. I don't have anything super expensive to store, so I'm not really worried about climate control or having a really expensive storage location. And I think I'm going to need to drive about an hour out of the city to get a unit that's reasonably priced, because here near the city, the units are about $150 a month for 10 by 10, and it's likely to be something more like $70 or $80 if I just go about an hour out. So again, my company is going to be paying for my unit, but since I don't know how long I'll be gone or if I'll be staying with my company long term once I leave, I may eventually have to take over the payments, so I wanted to try to be responsible about where I picked. Next, I searched for luggage. So I'm looking for something durable that's going to withstand lots and lots of travel. I have a backpacker's backpack. It's an Osprey. I think it's a 55 liter, and 15 liters of that, I believe, are a separate little mini pack. But I don't think I'm actually going to be doing much backpacking, at least not while I still have a job and can afford to travel on a bit larger budget. So I've settled on the Briggs Riley BRX Explore carry-on and their duffel bag. The brand is rated the highest, apparently, higher than any other luggage brand. The duffel bag attaches easily to the roller bag and also converts into a backpack. So my plan is that I could just use those two pieces, and the duffel bag is almost as big as the roller, but if I wear it as a backpack, I think I could bring the roller as my carry-on and the backpack as my personal item, or I could check the duffel bag and then also bring a purse or a small backpack on top of that so that I'd have kind of 3 bags. So for the move to London, I think I'm going to do the latter, so I'll have 3 bags, but for any longer trips I take in Europe, I can plan on the former and have 2 decent-sized bags that attach together, which will make it easier to get around. And because it's a high-quality bag with the wheels are like inline skate wheels, so they're higher quality, so that will hopefully mean that if I go over cobblestones or some, dirt road, it'll maintain and stay together. I also began my closet purge today and started making a list of things I'm going to sell. So I've got 3 huge garbage bags of clothing and shoes that are set aside in my spare room. I'm going to leave them there for the next 6+ weeks, basically, I think, about until I move, just to make sure there's nothing that I put in there that I think I'm going to miss. And I'll also be adding more stuff to the bags, or get another bag if I need to, as I find more things in my closet that I'm willing to admit that I never wear. And then when I move out, I will consign whatever I can, because I have some pieces that are kind of expensive, or I'll just donate everything. I'll just figure that out later. On my list of things to sell, I have a carpet cleaner I bought because of my dog and have used twice. I have a Shark brand wet mop thing that I used in previous apartments and have never used since I moved here. I've got a set of old custom men's golf clubs that I've used a whole bunch of times because my dad gave them to me, but I don't need any more. I actually have another hand-me-down set that are my mother's, so they're women's, which is better, but I don't think I'm going to be taking them to Europe, so I don't really need 2 sets. I also have a fishing pole and a tackle box, and I have cross-country skis, which are really useful in Washington, D.C. So the fishing pole and the cross-country skis I actually haven't used since I was living in Maine over 8 years ago, and I never bothered to get rid of it, which is just so ridiculous. I can't imagine anyone is going to buy a set of cross-country skis in the spring, almost summer in DC, but I'm going to give it a try and see what happens. I'm sure there's many other things that I'm going to sell. I'm going to continue to look around, but that's my start. To round out my week, I did my usual errands and chores, grocery shopping, laundry, all that fun stuff. I got to enjoy some leisurely time shopping at the mall, which I have to say is fantastic on a weekday during the day because there's like nobody there, maybe some tourists or some teenagers because I think it's spring break, but for the most part the malls are empty. I also sent a copy of my passport by request from my HR department, although we are still waiting on approval from my boss, so we haven't actually started filing yet, even though they now have the copy. And I also researched what I'm going to do about my cell phone when I get to London. So I already know that I can use my phone in the UK from the last time I visited a year and a half ago. I just have to get in touch with my carrier, which is Sprint, and change over some settings on the phone. I had some challenges with it last time, so I had to use someone else's phone to call Sprint, but we got it worked out. But there's still limitations on what I can actually use the phone for. I don't remember being able to text very well. And also giving my phone number out, I think I still had an American number, so it was just not perfect, but it's okay short term at least. So I think my best bet is going to be to wait until I get to London and actually just ask around. I know some people that are expats over there, so I'm sure they'll know what to do. And since I'm planning to travel around Europe, I want to make sure that I have a phone that actually works in multiple countries, not just in the UK. So I'm thinking I'll be able to get a phone that I can simply switch out the SIM cards and figure that all out later. So that's everything I did. In conclusion, I highly recommend taking the occasional week off and staying local, what you might call a staycation. I thought I might get a little bit lonely, but I met up with a few different friends in the evenings this week, so that turned out to be enough. I spent a lot of time with Hyde. We went to the dog park. We went to Georgetown and walked around. So it was really nice. And it was great to be out and about without all the people everywhere. It's spring break, so I think a lot of people are out of town, but also just it's the weekday, so most people are at work, and I'm not. But I was incredibly lucky with the weather. It was in the 70s all week, so I lucked out there. But my plans seem to be coming together, so I'll continue the updates as I figure each step out. The next week, I am going back to work, obviously. Boo. But I'll be focused heavily on making sure I have a desirable role carved out for when I move. Then also, I'm going to be pushing to get my visa application put in because that will mean that, I'm that much more sure that I'll be going and they're not going to change their minds. And I'll continue to whittle down my possessions. I heard somebody was telling me about, living this blogs about living minimalistically, and someone did a challenge where they did 30 pieces of clothing for 30 days to see if they could live with only 30 pieces of clothing. And I am tempted to try something similar. I'm specifically a minimalist. I don't need to live with absolutely nothing, but I don't need tons of stuff, and I've always traveled pretty lightly. So I'm thinking of trying just to get my wardrobe down to just the key pieces, and if there's stuff that might be missing, I'll buy it when I move, after I move, and maybe not look like just a complete American with my wardrobe while I'm in Europe. So that's the plan. Thank you again for spending some time with me, and I'll see you again soon.